Welcome to China Events, I am Jason. According to The Observer, recently, IAEA Director General Grossi visited Japan and personally went to the Japanese Prime Minister's residence, where he met with Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and presented the latter with a final assessment of Japan's nuclear wastewater discharge to the sea. According to the IAEA report, the nuclear wastewater discharged into the sea from the Fukushima nuclear power plant in Japan meets IAEA safety standards and its radiation impact on humans and the environment is negligible. After this news came to light, questions about the authenticity and impartiality of the IAEA report were raised, and even South Korea, which is actively improving its relations with Japan, expressed its displeasure. For example, some Korean media broke the news that the Japanese government had long been informed of the IAEA's draft final assessment report on Fukushima's nuclear wastewater, and found some unfavorable conclusions about Japan. The IAEA's final assessment report that the Fukushima nuclear wastewater is completely harmless. China has also reacted to the IAEA's conclusion that Japan's nuclear wastewater is completely harmless and has a negligible impact on humans. According to a news release from the Chinese Foreign Ministry, spokesman Wang Wenbin said that China has taken note of the IAEA's comprehensive assessment report on Japan's nuclear wastewater discharge, but understands that the report fails to fully reflect the opinions of experts from all sides and that its harmless conclusion is China regrets the IAEA's hasty issuance of the report, as it is understood that the report does not fully reflect the opinions of experts from all sides and its harmless conclusions have not been unanimously accepted by experts from all sides. The spokesman stressed that China believes that the IAEA cannot be a talisman and pass for Japan's discharge of nuclear wastewater into the sea, because the IAEA is very limited and its conclusions are one-sided. So, is the nuclear wastewater discharged by Japan to the sea safe or not? It should be said that it is definitely not safe. The reason is simple. For one thing, if Fukushima nuclear wastewater is really safe, then why does Japan need to discharge it into the ocean? With a little cleaning, it can be injected into the tap water or irrigation system in mainland Japan for the whole Japanese people to use together. As an island nation, Japan is already short of fresh water, and the Japanese people and government have always prided themselves on being frugal and careful with their money. So when faced with 1.37 million tons of clean nuclear wastewater with negligible impact on the human body faced with 1.37 million tons of clean fresh water converted from nuclear wastewater with negligible impact on human body, how can they bear to waste it and discharge it into the sea? From this, we can see that Fukushima nuclear wastewater is definitely toxic. Then the question arises, since Fukushima nuclear wastewater is toxic, why does the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is quite authoritative in the international arena, endorse Japan and issue a report to prove that Fukushima nuclear wastewater is non-toxic? On the one hand, as the South Korean media said, the Japanese government intervened in the IAEA's investigation of Japan's nuclear wastewater discharge by bribing IAEA staff with €1 million in order to make the results favorable to Japan. On the other hand, the IAEA is not an independent authority, and has long received funding from the United States to keep an eye on Iran's nuclear facilities while turning a blind eye to Israel's nuclear bombs, which is a reflection of the IAEA's neutrality and impartiality. Looking back at the course of events over the past 2 years, it is clear that the Japanese side is predetermining the outcome and then seeking support and endorsement. The Japanese government announced its intention to drain the sea in April 2021, formally launched the drainage plan in July 2022, and then repeatedly emphasized that it would not be delayed, all well before the IAEA completed its assessment and released its final report. In other words, no matter what the IAEA concludes, the Japanese side has already made up its mind to drain the sea. We do not see any respect for science in this. Wu Jianghao pointed out that in terms of its functional mandate, the IAEA is an international body that promotes the safe, secure and peaceful use of nuclear technology, not an appropriate body to assess the long-term effects of nuclear contaminated water on the marine environment and biological health. And from the beginning, the Japanese side has restricted the IAEA working group's mandate to not accept the assessment of alternative disposal options. Under such circumstances, the agency cannot prove the legitimacy and legality of the Japanese side's discharge of the sea, nor can it absolve the Japanese side of its moral responsibility and international law obligations. Wu Jianghao said there is no precedent for discharging nuclear contaminated water from a nuclear accident into the sea since the peaceful use of nuclear energy by mankind. The Japanese side said that all countries are discharging nuclear power plants, but everyone is discharging cooling water, not contaminated water that has been in contact with the accident core. Fukushima nuclear contaminated water contains more than 60 radionuclides, many of which do not have effective treatment technologies at this stage. The effectiveness and sustainability of the Japanese treatment system lacks sufficient authoritative verification. According to the Japanese side's current scenario, the process of draining the sea will last 30 years or more. For a discharge with so many uncertainties and such a long duration, who will monitor it? How to monitor? How to ensure credibility? There are no realistic conclusions to these questions. Nowadays, the US needs to rely on Japan to oppose China, so it decided to arm Japan and basically meet Japan's demands, so the US is turning a blind eye to Japan's discharge of nuclear wastewater into the sea, and the IAEA is also taking this attitude. In this way, it is not surprising that the IAEA endorses Japan.